Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Tristan Barrocks here, the digital storyteller, and I'm super excited to be with you once again for another episode of Cinecut, where we'll be talking about the Sony A7S Mark III and my thoughts on it, and your thoughts on it, and how the world has exploded. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go. Woo! Somebody say oh. No, that's the wrong video, right? No, no, it should be more like this. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Tell me. That's a song. That's a song. I mean, I don't know what to say. Honestly, Sony, like you just killed it. I don't even know where to start. It's just such an amazing time to be alive, to be a filmmaker, to be a digital storyteller. And I had to make this video because I just felt like I need to share some of my thoughts. Now, before we get into anything right away, I want to let you know that I didn't get a chance to try the camera out. This is just my own reaction to the specs that are out, the footage that's out of the announcement of the A7S Mark III. So please, if you're looking for tester footage or you're looking for overheating footage or videos, I don't have any of that. There's tons of YouTubers that have created great content for you to see. So let's jump into specs right now. So the A7S Mark III boasts a 12 megapixel sensor, which a lot of people think is a small sensor, a low resolution sensor, but it's actually not that bad. You have to understand the reason why they put only 12 megapixels on this sensor, in this sensor, versus the 24 megapixels that you can get from the A7 Mark III or the A7R. A9 has even more megapixels, is because of the fact that the less megapixels you have on a sensor board, the larger the megapixels are and the more sensitive they are to light. So when you're talking about the A7S, the whole idea of the A7S is to be a low light beast, to be able to see things pretty much in the dark, to be able to film with no light or very little light in the room. You can use ambient light, you can use candlelight, you can use flashlight, you can use just moonlight, and there are tons of videos out there. I'll show some as I'm talking where it shows you the abilities of this camera and how amazing this camera is. So when we're talking about the A7S Mark III, we have to remember that we're talking about it from the vantage point of low light video and photography. So it's a very niche type of a camera. It's not a camera for every single person. It's not designed for, you know, your entry level sort of cinematographer or photographer, or your high end you know, commercial photographer. It's not really designed for them. It's designed for that running gun documentarian, that, you know, that event shooter, the wedding cinematographer, the storyteller, the YouTuber that doesn't have control over their environment in terms of lighting and in terms of being able to control other elements that affect the image quality of their video or their photos. They just need a camera that can work, and that can work in many different environmental situations. So one of the Achilles heel of the A7S Mark II was the autofocusing system. It was terrible. It was not usable. It was not functional. It was pretty much a manual focus camera. That's what it was. It wasn't designed to be used for anything else. And that was because it was using a sort of like a contrast based type of focusing system, which was archaic. It was just really, really old and needed to be changed. In the new A7S Mark III, there is a new auto-focusing system, which is called on-sensor phase detection, which essentially is what we saw in the A9 Mark II and the A7R Mark IV. This is basically Sony's foolproof autofocusing system, where apparently you could just touch to focus and it's super, super sticky in terms of staying on to the subject that you have selected as the user, which is amazing to hear. It's even more amazing to see, and I want to try it out for sure, because that's really exciting news, especially when you're tracking, let's say, a bride and a groom, or you're shooting a documentary and it's super low lighting, and you really just want to kind of get the frame, but you don't know, like, you can't use your focus peaking and all those other stuff because it's so dark in the room or in the environment. To have something that's trusty and that's actually really, really reliable in terms of autofocusing needs is a mind bender. We still have Ibis. It's been upgraded a bit with a mixture of physical parts as well as software. So there's two types of Ibis. There is sort of the standard Ibis that was built into pretty much all the Sony mirrorless cameras once they started to institute the Ibis into their bodies. Then there's the active option, and the active option utilizes the mechanical Ibis built into or onto the sensor inside the camera body, and it also crops in slightly more into your frame, and it uses software algorithm, I believe, to then stabilize the footage even more. So you can get things like, that look gimbal-esque just by walking. Now, all the stuff I've seen so far hasn't looked that good. It hasn't looked like a gimbal, but if you add the new Ibis software and features and active settings with, let's say 120 frames per second or even 60 frames per second, then you're essentially going to get some really smooth, buttery smooth, stabilized footage. So I'm really, really excited that they did this, and I'm excited that they keep on trying to improve and make things better while not necessarily changing the design that much of the Sony bodies, mirrorless bodies, because I would hate for them to make them super big and super huge just so that they can have slightly better stabilized footage. The next major thing, in my opinion, is finally an articulating pull-out screen-y thingy. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's one of those features that I missed from my 60D and my 80D and so on and so forth, but I just learned how to deal with it being a Sony owner and being in the Sony ecosystem. That articulating screen is going to be a game changer for many people that want to switch over that just decided not to because, plain and simple, it just didn't give them that sort of vlogging experience that they needed. They had to add another screen and cables and microphones and all this other stuff. Of course, you can use your normal SD cards, the high capacity, high speed SD cards, which are still very inexpensive media types, which I'm very, very thankful for that. Thank you, Sony, for that, and for thinking about people like myself. I got kids to feed, and I can't be paying like $2,000 a card. I can't do it. Although those card slots can take SD cards, they can also take this new card type called, wait a minute, CF Express Type A cards. CF Express Type A cards are basically the new CFast cards or SD cards that are super, super fast. They have high bit rate record and read speeds, and this is really exciting as well. So what Sony did was they gave you two card slots, which is great, and then within those two card slots, you can actually use whatever cards you have. So if you just have SD cards, then you can just use the SD cards. If you do have CF Express Type A cards, which Sony makes, obviously, you can use those as well, or you can use a combination of both. And you can do simultaneous recording, or you can do relay recording. There's a litany of different options for that. I'm really excited to try this. I'm excited to see how well it writes and how durable these cards are. All of these cameras now need to be shooting at least 4K 60. We've been to the 4K 24 and 4K 30 mountain, and now we want to go higher, right? We want slow-mo, and then we want ultra slow-mo and all this sort of stuff. And this camera doesn't disappoint. The A7 Mark III boasts a litany of different frame rates, as well as codec rates, and as well as like bit rates. It's crazy. Let's just talk about the most exciting features. Number one, we have 4K 60 unlimited recording time for that. We have 4K 120 and unlimited recording for that. We not only have that, but we have 240 frames ultra slow-mo in 1080p. I don't know what to say. I am blown freaking away by that. I am blown away, and I am really just saying bravo. Bravo, Sony. You did it. You did it. You did it. But here's the question. Here is the question. Now, that's all well and good, but could you do anything else, Sony? Could you do anything else? Could you do like let's say raw 16-bit raw output? Ding, ding, ding. Yes, they did that too. So they not only just gave us internal 4K 60 frames per second and internal 4K 120 frames per second. They gave us all of that, but not only that, they gave us a large HDMI port. So HDMI, I guess, port A or type A ports. And then they also allowed us to now be able to get 16-bit RAW at 4K 60 frames per second to a Atomos Shogun or Atomos Ninja 5 recorder. Oh, one last thing before I forget, all the video footage that you can shoot internally with this camera is all 10-bit 422. So that's now giving you a vast variety of flexibility when it comes to grading. So you can use S-Log3, S-Log2, and get a lot more out of the footage than you would have in previous generations of this camera. So that's something to really remember as well. Now lastly, where does that leave us now with the camera landscape of all these brands, right? And I think the first thing I would say is I want people to understand that nobody has won, okay? Nobody has won this sort of race to the next level or the next phase of cinematography and creating dope, small form factors, I guess, film cameras. I think for me, every camera has its flaws and every camera has bested the other cameras in different ways. I think the big deciding factor for me will be two things: usability and price. Now, for me right now, the A7S Mark IV, for the price, I think it's a bang for your buck in certain ways, and I think in other ways it's kind of a little bit overpriced. Now, for me, I don't need to get this camera right now. I would love to get this camera, and if I have some extra money, sure, I'll pick up the camera. But I have a couple of A7 Mark IIIs, and they're working fine for me. I'm able to run my business off of them. I also have a Zcam S6. I've already done a couple of reviews of the S6 from Zcam. So I'm not really in the market for picking up a new camera, but I will say that if you are an event cinematographer, if you are a person that is a run and gun documentarian, if you only shoot video and you shoot videos in uncontrolled sort of environments, then this camera may be the best bang for your buck right now. If you're in that sort of space where you're already in the Sony ecosystem, or you're looking to switch and you've been disappointed with sort of the overheating issues that you heard about the R5 and R6, which is really disappointing by the way. Side note, I really feel like Canon dropped the ball, wet the bed, whatever you want to call it, with these announcements, because Canon was primed to kind of take over and really push things to the next level. And I was really excited to see what the R6 and the R5 could do in real world situations. But this overheating issue, they got to fix, and they got to fix quickly. But I think that the fact of the matter is, why announce something if it's not ready, right? And I think that although there are differing opinions about the performance of the A7S Mark III in terms of its overheating performance, I honestly think that for the most part, even if I get 20 to 25 minutes of 4K 60 or 4K 120, that's more than enough time for me to be able to film outside in direct sunlight. In most situations, I'm not going to be filming for that long anyways, so I'm not really too bothered about that. So those are some of my quick thoughts about the A7S Mark III announcement. Put down your comments below, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to know if you have any questions, or if you disagree with me, or if you agree with me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Peace.